All right, it looks like we're at the top of the hour. Welcome everyone to this webinar. My name is Q Mangus. I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at Micro Focus. We're joined by Paul DePon, the President and CEO of Notify, and Tom Walker, the Director of Product Management for Notify. Today we're going to be talking about Enterprise Mobile Essentials, Remote Device Support, and Unified Archiving. So just so everyone's aware of kind of how the flow is going to go, I'm going to talk a little bit about the archiving piece and how it works with Retain and just some reasons why you should be archiving. Paul DePon's going to introduce the Notify product with remote device support, and Tom Walker will show a demonstration of that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Once again, if you have questions, feel free to put those through. So first, just to begin with, I just want to give a few stats here. It's just some things to be thinking about mobile devices. We know that mobile device usage has grown, that traffic has increased. There's a huge growth in smartphone usage. That people are just using that. The point is that, as all of us kind of know, that mobile devices are here to stay and they're being used a lot. Here's some interesting stats about mobile device communication. A few years ago, about 7.8 trillion texts were sent worldwide. That's kind of leveled out. But think about that. That's about 250,000 texts sent per second. That's a huge increase in time. So that's something that is here to stay. Is that mobile device communication is something that we know that people are using, and we know that your employees are probably using in your organization. And of course, the penetration of smartphones just continues to rise. As of January 2016, we had over an 80% penetration of smartphones. So the point there is that your employees are using smartphones. They're using it to communicate, and you need to have oversight on that, and you need to be able to know what your employees are doing. And so that's kind of what we're talking about here today. You have devices in your organization. They're using them. Your employees are using them. What are you doing to have oversight, to control those, to support those devices? Some things to take note of too is that there are regulations that apply to electronic communication. And they specifically apply to mobile communication. So if you're in the financial industry, there's FINRA, SEC, MIFD, FSA. If you're in healthcare, there's HIPAA and high tech. And of course, if you're in government, there's the Freedom of Information Act. And there's other various different laws that can really affect what you should be archiving and how you're doing it. And so that's a point that I want to drive home, is that you as an organization need to be archiving mobile devices, archiving the communication that mobile devices generate, text messages, phone call logs, to be able to comply with these regulations. Because what may happen is that you could be asked to produce these communications, and you need to be able to quickly and easily do that. The point of this is that archiving really show that you need to be able to have oversight on mobile communication, and you need to be able to quickly and easily get to that. And there's another big one coming, and that's GDPR. So for those of you who are in Europe or deal with European companies, you just need to know that GDPR is coming, and you need to be able to make sure that your data stays secure. And that's where archiving can help, and that your data can be easily accessed, and that your data can be deleted if needs be, to be able to fulfill that portion of GDPR with the right to be forgotten. Let's go next to another point that I want to make about your mobile communication and your mobile devices is that you need to have a policy. That policy needs to be clear. You need to be able to make sure that your employees are trained on that policy, and that policy needs to outline what is and is not appropriate usage for mobile devices. And then, of course, technology must validate that policy, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. And the idea behind a policy and behind oversight when it comes to archiving mobile communication is that ability to have protection for your employees. You can ensure that your employees, that there's protection if there's an accusation, if there's a lawsuit. You can go back and show that an employee has acted appropriately, or that something was done in the way that you're saying it is. And then, of course, by having a policy and having your employees trained up on that policy, you can help them make sure they're acting appropriately. Finally, one last stat that I always like to show because it shows kind of that most people are behind the curve here, and meaning that most people today are archiving email. Um, that's kind of something that everyone kind of knows that they should be doing. So about 96% of the organizations are doing that. However, when it comes to mobile communications, you can see right there, text and SMS, only about 6% of the people are doing that. Organizations polled. This was from an Austrian research survey that was done not too long ago. Um, so the point is that you need to be able to archive mobile communication, and there's a good likelihood that you aren't doing that today. So you need to be able to do that. And we're going to talk today about Retain Unified Archiving and how Retain can help, and the solution that Microfocus provides to be able to do that. Some things to take note of. A recent addition to Retain is this ability to archive mobile, text messages, MMS, SMS directly from the mobile carrier. So the idea is that we've actually integrated with right now it's AT&T, but we're adding others as we speak to be able to capture text messages directly from that carrier. And so you don't have it's a seamless experience for your users. You don't have to worry about putting an app on the device or anything of that nature. It's just something that we tie directly to the carrier. We pull that into Retain. It's archived and indexed, and this is really good for those who have corporate issued BYOD or choose your own device. And it doesn't matter the type of device that is used. We can capture things from iOS, Android, BlackBerry, or any other device that's using the mobile network for text messages, and that's all put into the Retain archive. And so to build on that, so Retain Mobile is one piece of the Retain Unified Archive. So Retain Mobile has that part that I talked about with the mobile carrier archiving. That's one route in which you can archive mobile communication. Another way is we actually have an app that is placed on the Android phone to be able to pull down all text messages and phone call logs directly from Android. We can also integrate with the BlackBerry Enterprise Service to be able to pull down all text messages, phone call logs, BBM, and PIN messages directly from BlackBerry for those of you who are running BlackBerry. And then for iOS, we have partnered with a company called CellTrust, and they actually have an app that they'd place on your phone to be able to give you a dual persona. Meaning with this app, you can call and text using a separate phone number. It's a mobile business number. And we would integrate with CellTrust to be able to pull those messages down, and that can be done on Android and iOS. And that would be for a situation if you have a corporate issue, or if your employees are bringing their own device and you want to be able to separate mobile business from personal communication data, and we'd be able to archive that. And when the messages are pulled in, they're indexed in Retain, and they're searchable, so you can easily and quickly get to them. And that's a very important part of an archive, is being able to get to your data. And I'll kind of show some screen grabs of that in just a moment here to show how you can quickly and easily get to that data. This is just a quick diagram of how it kind of works with CellTrust for those of you who may be interested in that dual persona ability. This is just a little bit of that. And then to build on the full story, of course, we're talking mainly about mobile, and you need to be able to have oversight on mobile. You need to be able to archive mobile. However, that needs to be part of your entire archiving strategy, your entire electronic communication strategy. So you need to be able to archive email, and you need to be able to archive your corporate social media. And so Retain does that. We give you one solution, that's why we call it Unified Archiving, one solution to archive multiple email systems, social media, and mobile in that one central archive. And that's really one of the things that makes Retain unique, is that it can archive and support simultaneous email systems, social media, and mobile in that one central archive. From that central archive, you can easily access that via the web interface, an email plugin, a mobile app, or even an offline viewer. E-discovery is built in, so you can quickly and easily search that and be able to get to that data. That's important, right? So here's a view of the web access viewer. So when your users can go into their archive and they can access their personal archive, it looks familiar to them. The folder structure is replicated. They'll be able to browse their this is an example of an email archive. They'll be able to browse their email archive, restore back to the email if they need to, print messages. And then an administrator has access to the entire archive. So an administrator and other named users can search the full archive, can go across the board. They can and then they have powerful e-discovery tools to be able to search, place litigation holds, export them, be prepared for litigation. Here's an example of the email plugin in Outlook. That's another way that users can access their archive. They simply go into Retain. They can view the messages directly from Outlook without having to go to a separate UI. Here's an example of an archive search, and this is something that's really powerful when it comes to Retain. It's a really simple search interface. All you have to do is start typing in your search. It's going to suggest terms that are within the archive, and then it's going to highlight terms in the search results. And then you can drill down further. And well, one thing you can see is that I did this search, and you can see that email messages came across. You had some mobile messages, and it looks like here's Facebook messages. Conversation that's going across. So that's the power of Retain, is to be able to quickly and easily get to your data in that central archive, and that it isn't just the email that comes across or just the mobile. It's everything that's archived and retained from that one central search. Here's an example of that where I can drill down and change the scope, right? So I can say, oh, I just want to see multimedia messages. I just want to see chats, status updates, and searches. So now I can see that, okay, a YouTube video came across, Twitter feed, Facebook messages, and text MMS messages there. And so it makes it easy for you to quickly go down. I mean, there you can see that I drilled down and I got 41 hits. Oh, that's covered up. But you can quickly go down and get to the message that you really need to get to. And here's an example of the archive app. I know we're going to show that a little bit more in just a moment, but it makes it easy for your users to be able to access their personal archive. And then here's the standalone archive viewer, or we like to call it the publisher. And what this does is it allows you to quickly export the messages and have them available offline, or you can place them on a CD, a jump drive, Dropbox, hand them off to an external team. That team can then see that subset of the archive. They can redact. They can and then further export that to PDF and to be prepared for litigation. A little bit of what's new in Retain for those that may be familiar with it. That, of course, that mobile level, carrier level archive. There's been some updates to the Outlook plugin, including the ability to quickly and easily access the Retain web UI directly from Outlook, and then some enhanced Active Directory integration. So here's an example of the enhancement to the Outlook plugin, so that a similar search can be done directly from Outlook as you can do within the full web UI. I just wanted to summarize here, and that is the 8 key features in Retain. That is that multi-platform mixed environment unified archiving. The ability to have it on-premise, or we can also deploy it in the cloud. That flexible archive access that we talked about, that being able to access being the web interface, the email plugin, the mobile app, or the offline viewer. That built-in e-discovery, which includes tagging of smart, confidential, and rule-based tagging. And then the ability to, if needs be, migrate your email. So if you're on one email system, you simply tie that to Retain, archive, deploy a new email system, tie that one to Retain, and start to archive. And now you can use Retain to view your old email, it's in Retain, and to archive your new email, giving you the ability to not lose any data because it's all there archived in Retain. But that's really Retain in a nutshell. Being able to, as we're talking mobile, of course, you need to be able to have that oversight of your mobile communication. You need to be able to get to mobile communication data, and of course all of your other communication data as well. So just some next steps when it comes to Retain. Would encourage you to learn more about us, get a quote, see how this solution could work for you. You could even get a personalized demo. Feel free to visit us at retainarchiving.com to do that. Really quick, I might have seen a question here. There is a question about what requirements with MIFID are in respect to social media. So really the idea with that is being able to have oversight. So if social media accounts are being used to communicate with your customers, so if your employees are using that, you need to be able to have oversight on that data. You need to be able to archive it and get to it. That's the idea with most regulations regarding social media. So it's really if it's social media is being used in an official manner. So really we don't touch the personal social media data, but if it's something that's used in an official way, like your corporate social media account or any employee accounts that are being used to communicate with customers, that needs to be archived. And then the other question is, what is the timeline for additional carriers? We're looking to do that within the next 3 to 6 months. Hopefully it's sooner, but right now we are in talks as we speak with those other carriers to be able to do that. Okay, that looks like all the questions we have for now. I'll go ahead and give the time over to Paul.
Thanks, everybody. Paul DuPont from Notify Technology. Probably have talked to some of you before out there. Notify, founded in 1994. We've been focused on mobility since 2001. So we've got many years of experience in mobility. For those that have worked with us, we have 3 products out there today. One is Notify MDM for mobile device management. We have a product called Notify SCM. Secure content management. This is more for a BYOD environment where you want to minimize the control of the device, but maximize the security and content management and allowing the BYOD users. SCM is an interesting product. Today, we're going to talk about something really exciting, something new, something that you probably, some of you may have never seen this before. It's relatively new in the ability on the iOS side. On the Android side, capability's been around, but for iOS, it's brand new. So one of the things we're going to talk about today, or we want you to relate to, is that you're definitely your help desk, whether the help desk is handling just simple configuration questions on devices or how to use, all the way to, we've discovered organizations have teams that are supporting mobile applications, especially what we've run into in healthcare, where a healthcare provider may have a couple of folks handling mobile device questions on the day-to-day, but yet in the application support where they're, supporting their Epic apps or their Cerner apps or McKesson or whatever big electronic health records management system they're using, any of those packages that have mobile applications require, sometimes a fair amount of help. And it does tie up a help desk. We've noticed that those help desks are much larger than the everyday help desk for, just typical configuration type questions on mobile devices. Let's look at, what to look for in a support solution. First of all, we've designed the product. The goal of the product is to absolutely improve your help desk productivity. If you think about this, I don't know how many of you, what tools you're using. Many people that we talk to are still supporting users over the phone, have not implemented any tools. A lot of the tools that are out there for Android are also coupled to desktop support. So you need to buy a desktop support platform, and then some of the vendors offer a mobile support on top of that. Simple end user experience. You want, if you're going to put a tool out there to improve the help desk productivity, the thing's got to be easy all the way around, from the end user perspective all the way to the help desk. We're focusing right now on iOS and Android. iOS is brand new. It's never been done before until iOS 11 has come out. You need to have secure. We're very cognizant of the fact that you need to have secure connection. So the help desk is looking at in real time these mobile devices out there. Depending upon compliance issues and things like that, you want to know that those connections are secure. Connection type and performance. Wi-Fi and cellular are the two that we support. And the performance, we wanted the product to be able to perform. So if, when you're looking at that device or you're controlling that device, you want to, we wanted to be able to, give the performance that you're looking at real-time video. And the other piece here is cloud-based. Did not want to have any software at your premise. This allows you to just really have two components, component on the help desk and component on the mobile device. This allows us to, provide updates, control, scalability, performance, the whole 9 yards. It really is on us and makes that transparent to you as a user. Let me go over some highlights of the product. 3 components. So there's the mobile device piece. There's the Windows-based PC help desk app. This is what the help desk person is going to be viewing the mobile device. Cloud-based NOC, as I talked to you about. So there's no hardware on-premise or gateway or anything. This is, I think the real key here is this is the first standalone tool for real-time screen viewing of any iOS device. And again, that has just become available by Apple providing us the hooks to be able to offer this type of capability. So for those of you that are supporting iOS devices out there, you might have some clunky tools you're using, but you've never seen anything like you're going to see here in the next 10 or 15 minutes. For Android, real-time screen viewing has been available. The Android operating system is a little bit more friendly, whereas iOS has been a little bit more controlling. So it's recent for iOS. Android, it's been out there for a while. And in some cases, Samsung and LG devices, we can actually do remote control. And that's pretty cool. Being able to, it'd be great if we could do this on iOS as well. But if you think about it, it took Apple 10 years to give us the hooks to do just a real-time screen viewing. So I'm not holding my breath on the remote control piece. From a privacy issue or concern, all the remote sessions and remote controls initiated and terminated by the end user. So you don't have to worry about the end user saying, well, you're kind of, peering into my device and I don't know about it. And that's not true. They will basically initiate the session. We can terminate the session, but they can terminate it as well. The app itself, the mobile app, can be downloaded off the app stores, or for those of you that are using an MDM product, can push the app out onto the device. So it's there, and you just educate your end users that if they need support, they could, tap, use that app is already on their device. Just saves one step in having to download it. The connection security, we use TLS 1.2, and the data is encrypted. So not only do we have a secure pipe, but the data that's being viewed is encrypted. So it would be very difficult to do a man in the middle on this one because what they would, if they could break into a TLS pipe, they would still have to decrypt the data, which would be very difficult. Performance reaches, for those of you that are know video, 30 FPS is what we would call video speeds. So hopefully on this GoToWebinar session, you'll be able to get a taste of the performance while Tom's doing the demo. Hopefully it won't be jerky around. Sometimes on the GoTo sessions, go-to is a real bandwidth hog, so sometimes they are a little bit of latency. But if you were doing this yourself, you would see that it flows very much as smooth as video. And the way we license this, the product is licensed on a per help desk seat. So things that come out of that are, for example, you could have, hundreds of devices and maybe a couple of help desk folks. You only need a couple of license. You can also load this on a couple of different, if a desktop, a laptop, whatever. You can only use one of those at a time, but you can have the client loaded on there so that if you were to, go home and want to do a support session and all that, you wouldn't need to buy 2 licenses. You take the same license, and if you're not at the office, you'd be using it on your laptop. And we can, take questions on that later. A little bit on the architecture, very straightforward. You've got your help desk folks here on the right-hand side. They're connected into the data center. You have the mobile devices out here on the left. They're connected into the data center. The data center really provides, the binding between the device and the help desk person. It's very simple, very clean, very scalable. Makes it very easy. Let me give you an example of iOS walkthrough. So here's there's going to be 2 slides. So here's what what you're about to see is what we have to do, or what Apple makes us do in order to provide this functionality to you. Now, first thing is we download the app. And again, this can be taken off the App Store or pushed down by an MDM. Before you do anything with the app, the first thing you need to do is go into your settings and tap on Control Center and add the screen recording capability. It's turned off, but this step only has to be done once. Okay, and once that's completed, then you tap on the app, and the app will generate a 9-digit PIN. And then that 9-digit PIN is given to the help desk. It's communicated to the help desk. And once the help desk enters it on his PC, then the user will get a notification that they need to turn broadcast on. And basically, it's a very simple process. You swipe up from the iPhone to open the Control Center. You tap and hold the screen recording button, and then you tap on NotifyRDS to start broadcast. And once you've done that, this sequence of steps just takes literally 10 seconds. This has to be repeated on every session. This setup back here only has to be done once, unless take your device has to be reloaded from factory settings or whatever. You set this up once and you're done. This occurs on a per session basis. Once you hit the start broadcast, 2 seconds later, the next thing you're doing is you're seeing in real time this person's iOS device, whether it be a smartphone or a tablet, on the help desk screen. And from that moment on, and Tom, we'll show you this live here in just a couple minutes, what that's like, and the power of that. For the first time, you can now see what somebody's doing when you're talking to them over the phone, which, if that doesn't improve your iOS help resolution, I don't know what will. Now, on the Android side, it's a little bit different. Android, a little less controlling, which translates into, a little bit, I think, nicer end user experience. But it also, as we all know, the Android platform is vulnerable to all kinds of malware and all kinds of other issues. So it's kind of a trade-off. Again, you have the RDS app. You tap it. You'll notice here, nothing has to be set up or anything. So you tap the app, you get the 9-digit PIN, you relay that to your help desk. Once the help desk enters the PIN on their end, you'll get a pop-up that does a connection request, and you'll either reject it or allow it, and then there you are. You're now viewing the Android device. Okay, the other thing I'll show you before we go into a live demo is that if you need to, you can support multiple devices. You can have sessions running with 2 or more devices simultaneously. So in this example, I have an iOS phone and an Android phone being worked on at the same time. You could have an iOS phone and an iOS tablet or whatever. It's just whatever the help desk person, the situation, if it requires putting a few devices up there and working simultaneous, they have the ability to do that. At this point, I'm going to turn, let's see, Tom, you want to take control? I'm going to introduce Tom Walker. He's our Director of Product Management. He'll be launching the PC client, which will be used to view the first device will be iOS, and then we'll get into Android. Good morning, Tom.
Yeah, good morning, Paul. Thank you. So let's get started. I'll go ahead and open the NotifyRDS desktop application. The first thing it will ask me to do is to log in, but I have this system set up to save my credentials, so it'll automatically take me there to save time in the setup process. So the next thing I'll do as the support person on the other end of the line is ask the end user to give me their 9-digit code. So Paul, why don't you go ahead and give me a 9-digit code from your iPhone?
Right, 650-099-425.
All right, thank you, Paul. So now I'm going to go ahead and initiate the connection to ask to view the screen of that iOS device. So go ahead and do that. And then what Paul's going to do is he's going to see those on-screen instructions to turn on screen sharing by selecting the screen recording from the control center and starting the broadcast. And what it'll do is the end user will see it's like a little 3, 2, 1 countdown, and this is all part of the OS. Now we can see the device. So we're still in the broadcast, so you can see what that screen looks like, and we'll just hit the home button a couple of times, and now we're there in the NotifyRDS app, and hit the home button again. Thank you. And we see the device. Some things you can do with this, if we take a look, we have Retain here on his phone. We go ahead and open up Retain, so we can do that. Thank you. You can easily help users maybe with some simple things that could be challenging over the phone, like making sure they have the right username or the archiving address. You can easily go in and you can see that on their device. So you may have transposed the A and the I, or they've typed the username in incorrectly. But something some of those things they seem like very simple things to do that could take a lot of time on the phone, where having that view gives you the ability to quickly and efficiently get those things addressed. So we'll go ahead and log in. We'll take a peek at what we have going on in this Retain app. Now taking a look at Retain, we can see scrolling through the archive, going into the inbox. We can even go and run a search. You can see how seamless this is. There's really no lag. So when you ask an end user to do something, the feedback is immediate, where you can go in and do several things. Another example would be, going into the settings. I can open up settings and ask them to go to the About screen. I would like to take a look at a couple of things. So you'll instruct them. Say, for example, tap on General. I'll do that for me, and then we'll say go ahead and tap on the About, and we'll see that. Again, you can see the information about the device. How much memory capacity there is. What version they're running, maybe what carrier they're on. A number of pieces of information that would be helpful in a troubleshooting session are available. So now I'd like to
hey Tom,
take a
Hey, one of the things that people always talk about is that when people mess up their email account, going in there and helping them set it up, give them an example of how easy that is to guide them through, just instead of having, visually.
Yeah,
Versus
thanks, Paul. Yeah, that's a great one. One of those things that could be very difficult to, and is a common task, the help desk are helping their end users with, is maybe setting up an email account where they're asked, hey, I'm having trouble. I go into mail, and I can't see where to set up an account. So you can say, okay, let me just walk you through that and make sure they're tapping the correct thing. So go ahead and click on, say, accounts and passwords, and then tap on accounts to add an account, and you can have them add, for example, their Exchange account and put their Exchange account information in, and you can make sure that their email address is typed in correctly, and all of that to make those those types of calls that shouldn't take very long, but because you may be flying blind at the time, could take longer than it should. Having the ability to see exactly what's on the screen really can improve the the efficiency of the help desk.
Absolutely, because you've got different types of skilled people that call in for help. Some of them need a lot of help, and some of them don't need that much help, but a little bit of help. Being able to watch the fact where they've typed and what they've typed in is wrong or whatever, very, very challenging on a phone call. This makes it a whole lot easier to make sure that they're heading down the right path. And again, we want to elaborate that this, if you've got a challenged, mobile help desk, you're getting, they're buried with questions and things like that. This will definitely improve the performance and allow them to, close out these issues much faster than they've been able to do before by just using the telephone. You want to?
So
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go ahead and try. We'll check it out on an Android device. Yeah, so go ahead and give me that 9-digit code there.
Okay, 645 960 299.
All right, I'll go ahead and connect here. Now the difference being on the other side is that all you need to do is accept or allow the connection, and the screen viewing begins. Now here you'll see there's a couple icons across the top that give you those remote control functions. So we're connected to a Samsung Galaxy phone here, where now I can take control of the device. I can tap the home screen, and I can see again we can pop into retain, verify that the user has the right information, but in this case they don't. So I can just go ahead and type in the correct information for them. Choose next, and then go ahead and log in to their archiving account.
So you are now doing remote control on this one, not just viewing. All right, you've got both features going on simultaneously on this.
Correct. And then again, I can tap the home screen. It'll take me back down to the home screen where I can then maybe go into apps, choose things like settings, get information from the about device screen, and so on. So again, even more efficiency is achieved with some of these Androids with Samsung and even LG. But even if they aren't running those manufacturers, having the ability to peer into that device troubleshooting session is could be invaluable. So, Paul, I guess I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, let me. Can you see my screen here? There we go. So, what you've seen, Tom demo, for those of you that the iOS demo is the first of its kind. You may have seen screen viewing on Android, maybe even remote control. What's nice about our product is we offer all of that in one package. You get iOS for the first time, and then Android viewing as well as remote control. couple of questions that have come up in our discussion with customers about the product. So I thought we'd just go over these real quick because you may be thinking about them right now, or maybe even thinking about asking a question. For example, one of them is data. Is there any data captured in the NOC? The answer is no. It's a complete pass-through. The NOC really provides for us, a real nice way to scale the product. Also, it eliminates the need for any equipment that has to be managed, or at the customer site. So the product appeals, if you're a small IT shop or large organization, it's like any other cloud-based service. It's designed, for organizations of any size. Can I view multiple iOS, Android devices on my help desk? Yes, you can. And in fact, if you can fit them on the screen, I think it will allow up to 10 simultaneous on the desktop app. It's going to get a little crowded. But we've had some organizations say that, hey, I've got 4 or 5 people out in the field. I'd like to be able to conduct actually a small training session on how to use a certain app. I could actually use the product to do something like that. We get all kinds of good ideas from talking to customers these days. Will the remote session automatically disconnect? The answer is yes, it does in 20 minutes, but it could be configured. You can configure them to disconnect shorter period of time or longer, or even take it off. Though we would think that the goal would always be to try to drive the resolution time down on any problem as small as possible. So we think the 20-minute default should be more than enough. For most cases, sure, there could be some complex situations that even with viewing could take a while, but I don't know. I think that's a good number. Is a user prompted during a remote session while on a cellular network? Yes. The reason why we do this is just to make you aware that, if you're tight on the data plan or whatever, you're using data versus maybe get to a place where you could be on Wi-Fi, especially if, if you think the session's going to take a period of time. Typically, if the length of these things are a few minutes, there's, the amount of data that's coming through there, depending upon the application, could be from very little to more. But it really just depends. The idea here is just to make you aware of that. Let's see what's next here. Look, so for those of you that are interested, we're going to reach out to everybody that signed up for the webinar. We'll send you a data sheet. You can schedule a more in-depth discussion and demo with us. We provide 7-day evals. The product is pretty straightforward. It just takes a matter of minutes to set up, and I think you'll get the feel of it real quick. With this product, it either works or doesn't work, and I think you'll see it. Not only does it work, but we think it works in a very performing way, especially with the screen viewing. We sell it by the seat. So those of you that are interested, we'll provide you a price quote. And with that, I'd like to thank Tom for doing a great job on the demo, and turn this back over to Q.
So there was a couple of questions, Paul, probably for you. Is the 9-digit code different on every session, or is it a per user based thing?
Yes, it's different on every session. That's why there's 9 digits. There's a lot of numbers, possible numbers.
Great. And then the other one is just, they're kind of asking approximate pricing per user.
It's $960.
That looks like all the questions. If you have any other questions, feel free to put those through. If we didn't get to them, we can always follow up with you. And like I said, this session has been recorded, so everyone will be getting an email shortly with this webinar recording. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Thank you to Paul and Tom for your information and for bringing that to us. And yeah, we hope to see everyone on the next one. Thanks, Paul and Tom. And thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Q.